Welcome to Business Insights. Today, it's another opportunity for us to have global perspectives on the different developments around the world in the business space. We'll also be decoding market trends and exploring the strategies that drive industries forward. I am Olaoluwa Awe. So let's start with the business news. Starting the business news today, the Cocoa Farmers Association of Nigeria, CFAN, has requested for the establishment of a new regulatory board that would primarily focus on the promotion and development of the industry without getting involved in the sale and purchase of the cocoa beans. According to them, the creation of such a regulatory body would prevent some of the problems like personal enrichment and duplicity of functions that bedeviled the defunct board, leading to its abolition. According to the national president of the CFAN, Adeola Adegoke, with the reintroduction of the commodity boards by the Tinubu-led administration, it has become very important to repeat and clarify the position of farmers. Similarly, he stated that the farmers are asking for a regulatory board that would reposition the industry for growth rather than a market board, especially as the sector prepares towards escaping the European Union ban of unsustainable cocoa beans in 2025. The acting governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Folasodun Shonubi, has declared that the official foreign exchange market, otherwise known as the Importers and Exporters Window, I&E window, would be renamed to the Nigerian Foreign Exchange Market, NFEM. He made this known while delivering a distinguished personality lecture titled Diaspora Remittances and Nigeria Economic Development for members of the Executive Intelligence Management course, EIMC 16, at the National Institute for Security Studies in Abuja. Speaking further, he implied that the CBN will penalize commercial banks found engaging in the illegal sales of foreign exchange, stating that a commission has been inaugurated to pay a surprise visit to banks involved in the unlawful sale of dollars. Nevertheless, he noted that although efforts were made to attract people into the formal market transaction by granting a 5 naira refund through its Naira for Dollar scheme, the policy was still ineffective, precipitating the discontinuation of the 5 naira refund. He, however, noted that the usefulness incentives in attracting people to the informal or the formal market. Away from that, Nigeria's inflation rate took a leap to 24.08% in July 2023, showing a hefty 129 basis point jump compared to the previous month's 22.79%, marking the 6th consecutive rise in the headline index this year. These insights come straight from the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, through their Consumer Price Index CPI report for July. Now, what's causing all this commotion? Well, the elimination of petrol subsidies and the unification and devaluation of the official exchange rate played their part. Think of it as a recipe for an inflation cocktail. And zooming in on the monthly scale, the inflation rate for July danced around 2.89%, shimmying its way up by 0.76% from June's rate of 2.13%. Inflation is like that. And when we talk about contributors to this inflation fiesta, food and non-alcoholic beverages took the spotlight, strutting in at 12.47%. Housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels followed suit at 4.03%. And clothing and footwear joined the party with 1.84%. Now, let's talk food. Food inflation decided to crank up the volume, rocking a 26.98% rate in July. And that's a bump of 1.73% from the previous month and a whopping 4.97% higher compared to the same time in 2022. On the monthly growth, food inflation ate 3.45%, higher by 1.06% from June's 2.4%. Now, stepping back, the average annual inflation rate for the 12 months ending in July 2023 came in at 18.84%. And that's a substantial 4.31% increase from July 2022's average of 14.53%. And to contribute to this, various factors had their say. And when it comes to food, prices went up for oil and fat, bread and cereals, fish, potatoes, yam and other tubers, fruits, meat, vegetables, milk, cheese and eggs. On the core side, it was passenger transport by air, passenger transport by road, vehicle spare parts, medical services and maintenance, and repair of personal transport equipment that jacked up the numbers. And away from that, the Debt Management Office, DMO, recently conducted a federal government of Nigeria bond auction in August 2023, reopening 4 bonds with varying maturities. The auction received 281 bids worth 312 billion naira for the total offering of 360 billion naira. Successful bids were allotted at marginal rates ranging from 13.85% to 15.85%. The data indicates a -13 under subscription, reflecting lower demand for risk-free investments due to concerns about rising inflation, which surged to 24.08% in July. Investors showed interest in longer-term bonds with higher yields, as reflected in the significant subscription to the 30-year bond. And cryptocurrency exchange Binance is currently facing legal action from the United States Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, which has accused the company of engaging in deceptive practices. In response to the SEC's request for information, Binance has filed a protective court order. This order aims to limit the scope of the SEC's inquiries, arguing that the regulators' demand for information are too broad and burdensome. Binance's operating company, BAM Trading and BAM Management, have stated that they have already provided enough information to the SEC and that further requests are unnecessary. The protective order seeks to restrict the SEC's actions, such as limiting the number of depositions, that is, testimonies from BAM employees. It also aims to prevent the deposition of BAM's chief executive and chief financial officer without specifying their names. And away from that, China has suspended the publication of its youth unemployment data, citing a need to review the methodology used for this closely monitored indicator. The decision comes after the release of disappointing factory and retail sales data, sparking criticism on social media and reflecting growing concerns about employment prospects in the country. This move is part of a trend by Chinese authorities to restrict access to key data and information, raising unease among foreign investors. The suspension is intended for the optimization of data collection methods, particularly considering the inclusion of university students seeking jobs before graduation and the age range criteria. This reduction in available macro data could potentially erode global investors' confidence in China's economy, with experts noting that youth unemployment likely increased in July. It's almost time to get deeper into the capital market, but let's go on a short break. Welcome back. This time we'll briefly review the developments in the capital markets. On August 15, 2023, that should be yesterday, the Nigerian Stock Exchange, NGX, saw shares of about 280 million traded in over 6,000 deals, worth around 4.6 billion naira. Now, compared to the previous trading day, the day's trading was better by 8%. 8% more shares were traded, 10% more money exchanged, and 7% more deals were made. The total value of all listed companies on the NGX is now about 35.3 trillion naira. Out of 116 companies, 19 gained value while 31 lost values. And Tantalizers gained the most with 10% increase, and Eternal lost the most with a 9.86% decrease. Companies with the most shares traded were Transcorp Nigeria, United Bank for Africa, Access Holdings, and Sterling Banks. The total value of all listed companies on the NGX is now about 35.3 trillion naira, with the main market index, NGX All Share Index, ASI, going down by 0.43%. closing at over 64,900 points. It had a slight weekly loss of 0.58%, but a good yearly gain of 26.69%. Still on the same day, the Nairobi Securities Exchange, NSE, had a trading session of around 4.6 million shares traded in 915 deals with a total value of 134.7 million Kenyan shilling. Compared to the previous trading day, there was a significant drop in activity. Trading volume fell by 81%, turnover decreased by 71%, and the number of deals declined by 25%. The total value of all listed companies on the NSE is 1.6 trillion shillings. Among the 51 companies that were traded, 10 saw gains in their share prices, while 33 experienced losses. Crown Paints Kenya had the highest gain, with its share price going up by 5.26%, followed by HF Group 5.25% gain, Express Kenya 4.44%, and Nation Media Group 3% gain. Among the companies that lost value, Olympia Capital Holdings had the biggest decrease, with its share price dropping by 9.91%, followed by Total Kenya 8.83%, Samia Africa 8.75%, and Unger Group 8.11% decrease. Now, Safaricom had the most shares traded, with 2.8 million shares changing hands, followed by KCB Group, Equity Group Holdings, and Cooperative Bank of Kenya. In terms of market indices, the main benchmark NSE All Share Index, NASI, went down by 0.46 points or 0.45%, closing at 102.77 points. Over the course of 1 week, it experienced a loss of 2.04%, and over 4 weeks, it had a loss of 9.02%. Overall, for the entire year, the index had a loss of 19.38%. Other notable indices were the NSE 20 share index, which decreased by 0.88%, and the NSE 25 share index, which decreased by 0.62%. Now, let's get to the commodity market. And speaking of that, a variety of products have experienced shifts in their prices, reflecting the dynamic nature of global trade. Starting with the energy sector, West Texas Intermediate WTI crude oil took center stage with a price of $80.70, marking a decrease of 2.19% compared to the previous value. Similarly, Brent crude oil made its presence felt and revealing a price tag of $83.47, which also saw a decline of 1.73% from its earlier valuation. The natural gas market witnessed a notable downturn as prices dipped to $2.68, indicating a substantial decrease of 4.15%. Now, this change highlights the sensitive nature of energy commodities in response to market forces. Now shifting to precious metal segment, gold made an appearance at $1,935.3, exhibiting a modest decline of 0.45%. Silver joined the spotlight at $22.67, also displaying a slight decrease of 0.19%. Now, in the agricultural realm, corn entered the stage with a new price of $478.25, experiencing a decrease of 1.90%. This movement underscores the intricate balance between supply, demand, and external factors that influence crop prices. Now, let's forge ahead to the currency markets. On August 15, 2023, there's a currency exchange rate outlook in Nigeria that we really must talk about. If you want to buy US dollars, it could cost you about 784.392 naira, and if you were selling, you get it around 785.392 Nigerian naira. This is according to official report from the Central Bank of Nigeria, with the middle ground rate being 784.892 naira. Now for pound sterling, the buying rate was about 998.76 naira. Selling rate was around 1,000.03 naira, and right in the middle was 999.40 naira. And looking at euros, if you were buying, you'd need roughly 857.968 naira. Selling would get you about 859.0618 naira, and the central rate was about 858.51 naira. Finally, if you had your eyes on Japanese yen, you'd pay around 5.39 naira to buy, sell for approximately 5.40 naira, and in the center you'd find 5.40 naira. And on that note, we bring an end to the market trend report. It's now time to get to the analysis. Get ready for, a robust conversation on some of these major developments and the development in the capital market in Nigeria, where the Ministry of Finance Incorporated is listing on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Business Insight on Souq News. Once again, I am Olaoluwa Awe. I'm now joined, by two gentlemen here. I'm talking about Jimo Latif, who is a capital market professional and an accountant. Welcome to Business Insight today.
Good morning.
Yes, Ahmed Jayola is also here. It's been a while,
Yes, it's been a while.
Yes, he's our very own business analyst, and it's time to, look through the major developments. We start with the capital market, and we'll talk about the Nigerian stocks here. What are some of the major things you have seen from the updates we gave earlier during the business news?
Good morning once again. The basic thing about yesterday, you can see the market slipping off a little more. It's further threatening, but it's expected. You can look at the sell-off of some, and the weak performance in the market is driven basically by the sell-off of big banks, especially MTN, GITCO, and Stanbic were seriously sell-off yesterday. Although they were gaining some sectors, but still, it's still a the YTD is still positive and arena, but at least yesterday, in terms of the deals that were made, that was a slips, about 3% slips yesterday.
Now, for those who are looking to invest in the capital market, what does this mean for them?
Investing doesn't mean this is the time for you to invest, because like I told you, the weak performance has been shown and dividends have been declared. The market have been there must be a markdown in the share price to reflect the actual value of the price. Now this is time for you to invest. So it can mean when mark down, the share have been marked down in such a way that if you declare dividends, the NGS will mark down your price, your share price, to reflect the true worth of the market. So this is the time to really invest some stock that will feel they're fairly priced. So you can start from there and start making. And this is the right time. There's nothing to it. I mean, it's still very, very good environment to invest in.
Yesterday when we examined this, this is for you, Ahmed, and as at the review we did for the day before yesterday, we noticed that a good number of companies in the food sector didn't really do well. And it's coming at a time where we keep recording higher inflation. The report for July is now in. This is the 6th consecutive rise this year. Do you think there's a relationship between what's going on in the capital market and the inflation rate?
Oh, definitely. The higher, the inflation rate goes, the less the amount of money that the, commodity market enjoys. Because it's not as if people are getting more money; they are getting less money. So you don't expect an improvement in buyer power and consumption. You expect some normalcy or reduction, because everyone is trying to save, everyone is trying to adjust to the realities and so on and so forth. So that is naturally going to affect the sales, profits, and all those things for the company. And that is obviously also going to the news and the the feel around the market, basically, is also going to affect share price. Because even if the company wants to prop up its should I call it talk value now, okay, about news about themselves, maybe doing a research, maybe getting something new on board or something like that, which has the potential to increase desire in buying shares from them. The truth of the matter is, at the market side, they are losing money.
Bill?
Let me quickly interject on what you said. You see, the inflation and the share price, or the performance of the company, they go together hand in hand. Because immediately there's an inflation, it affects the factor of production. It affects, the earnings, except there are more aggressive revenue direction from the company, the company will not be, because in time of, if I mean the factor of production, I'm talking about the land, the human capital and all these things, they actually increase, and the purchasing power increases. If that increasingly, it eroded the income that must have earned by the company. All these things affect the food and beverage in this side. I mean, the reported profit is being low. In terms of, even look at the foreign exchange effect on the food and beverages. Most of the raw material are being imported. Here, understand? So all these things has effects, and most of them are actually declaring losses through the FX exchange. So all these factors, increase in the inflation rate as well as the foreign exchange, has a very dire consequences on food and beverage companies. So they are feeling it seriously. Even look at manufacturing companies, because they are functional. Because you talk of the food and beverage, Nestle, Dangote Cement, Bua, and all those things, they are really having it tough in terms of the economic quagmire that we have.
So for those who are now looking to invest, what sector do you really think is most profitable at this point in time?
It depends on the kind of investment preference you have. You can invest in food if you have a longer term investment.
Yes.
If you want it, then you can invest in something that you know that, okay, let me look at financial sector. There are some that are gaining. But if you're somebody, I think food and beverages, because definitely it's a stable market. As far as I'm concerned, somebody must eat, someone must take something that has to do. But financial sectors, you know, the dynamics and the fundamental behind financial sector is not something you can easily, because most of these things are manipulated for you to gain some entries. So when you get some entries, it might go either way. But the best thing, before you need to really dissect the company you're investing in, try to understand more. You know, some have a hidden project that you are not aware of. If kind of a thing, you know, we call it it's fundamental. If the new features out, like for instance, Dangote Sugar want to take Dangote Sugar and one Dangote whatever and food, they want to take over the next one. The new is still not very fully developed into the market. But some people know that, okay, there's a process of takeover from the, and if they bring in NASCON to the Dangote family, you know, definitely it's going to affect the share price of those particular, and people will have been investing into that. Looking at the future benefit they're going to reap from that.
So Ahmed, do you want to say something about that?
In addition to that, you see, the stock exchange has dynamics that I think I would like to say requires tutorials, okay, for people to understand how it works. Those who have worked in that industry, those who understand how the dynamics work, they know how to project. They know how to. That's one of the reasons why you have stockbrokers. That's one of the reasons why you have analysts. Okay, in the industry. The entire thing is not just it's not an all-comers affair. I think that's the right word. So if you say you want to invest in stock, you really, really need to understand how the stock exchange works. You need to understand how these companies work. There are companies that have propped up their value. And unless you understand how it works, you will jump at it. And the moment you jump at it, when what is supposed to happen happens, bye-bye. Right? We are seeing it happen in the tech sector right now, everywhere in the world.
Let me quickly interject. Look, it's very right, because identify the sector you want to, not just you to top money because you believe it's the trend is moving. Some might be a kind of fake news.
Yes.
We call something in the loud in the market. Somebody don't react to something before you know the check because of the loud maybe. But one thing,
some sort of propaganda.
So there's something called organic movement. An analyst will sit down, take a financial statement. That's the way you analyze the yield over time, the EPS over time. They will tell you how soon would you recoup your investment if you place your investment based on the analytics. And this is what we're saying as an analyst, as an accountant or as an analyst or a stockbroker. We look at that financials, although there are other things that we call technical analysis. In technical analysis, we look at the patterns. We believe system replaces itself. So when we look at the movement over time, and we look at the probable patterns, they mean, okay, it is definitely going to be like this. It's a projection, it's a speculative instrument. And this technical analysis has to do with a little bit of mathematical tools that are being used to be able to get those prices right.
So let me quickly add to this. So I am aware that when the stock exchange is going to announce, okay, there is a lot of information that's at the back end that does not come out. Now, there are those that are guardians of this information. I mean, for goodness sake, in the U.S. Senate, okay, the oversight committee that looks, into the what do you call it, the securities exchange, okay, because they get information first. It's one of the reasons why you are seeing a lot of them, scrambling to invest in this sector, invest in that sector, and then, some of them actually get sued for inside trading and insider trading and so on and so forth. And they are senators; they are not even finance experts, right? But because they have that information first before it gets released into the public, they have already done a first taker's advantage. And at the end of the day, anybody else that is coming on is just joining the bandwagon. Whatever it is that's supposed to happen has happened.
And let me tell you, let me quickly say something on that too. We call it noise. People react to noise in the market, and if you react to noise, by the time the noise become doused, you may get your.
You may have lost everything.
And what we're saying is that before you invest, do your fundamentals. Although I agree that some insider information that you have, like for instance, First Bank is coming to raise its share capitals, very enormous, and they just did their energy, I think, day before yesterday or something, and they've increased the
controversial
not even that. They increased the share volume. I mean, they want to increase their share, so they want people to come and buy more shares. But although in terms of rights, rights different from rights. If you invest in rights, I mean, you have an existing share in that company. In terms of ordinary, if the kind of different shares you buy. A right means that you have existing share, so you have right to buy an additional. In case you didn't take up that right, somebody has outside, but it's not for outsider. It's for existing investor. That is coming in by way of rights. And then they give you an ample of time for you to look for somebody that if you look at fundamentals of FBN that at least that's still very good, and you can close your eyes to some answer based on the kind of a huge investment available to this part, and they can enter into any contract that can bring a very good returns to them. So these are things we use in the market, and you have to be very careful at least to know what price. Because you really need to know. That's why, because if you invest and you don't know the right price, you invest in it, you may get into trouble. It may not get into trouble to start, but it means that it may take you more time to recoup your money.
Yes.
Wow. Before we move away from the capital market, something rather interesting happened in the building of the Nigeria Exchange Group. That should be the day before yesterday. That's the 14th of August 2023. Now, we're talking about Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers, that's a CIS, gathered with the Nigerian Exchange Limited. We also saw the Association of Securities Dealing Houses of Nigeria, ASHON. They demonstrated their resolve to collaborate with the Ministry of Finance Incorporated, which is the investment arm of the federal government. And what did they really talk about? MOFI is looking at listing, on the stock exchange, and the NGX is supposed to help the company facilitate some of those listings, bring in some assets in. And the target, according to report, is they're trying to move their assets worth about 18 trillion naira to about 100 trillion naira in 10 years. So we need to really talk about what this means for the capital market. We need to talk about what this means for Nigerians, what it means for the government. But let's quickly hear the CEO of MOFI speak on this. So let's have that report, that clip of the CEO of MOFI explaining what the advantage of this listing would be for Nigerians generally.
I and our children own in this Commonwealth. If these entities are well governed, they're well managed, they're well capitalized, and they have a clear line of sight to value creation, we believe that it is a right of Nigerians to share in that prosperity. It has to be done in a transparent manner, and the exchange provides a platform to give Nigerians the opportunity to own and share in that prosperity, regardless of how much money they have. You see, you and I were having a conversation the other time, that time you complete your transformation, even somebody who owns 5,000 naira can participate in that ownership. We believe that if we work together, we can begin to create a whole new set of alternative assets that Nigerians can begin to benefit from. For instance, we have a lot of real estate assets that are out there that are generating cash flows. Why can't we create tokens on the back of those assets and provide fractional ownership opportunities for Nigerians to participate in that? I believe that it can help us diversify the market and introduce new products than you have right now. It allows us to be able to take advantage of things such as blockchain technology, AI, to diversify and make our markets more sophisticated. Most of the Gen Zs want to see us demonstrate that we understand where the world is going with the use of new technologies to diversify our market, to make our market a lot more technology friendly. I think that with the right partnership, we can really go places. And that's why we're excited to be here today. And we thank you very much for being with us and staying with us. If we're disposing of any shareholding in government assets, it has to be done in a way that is transparent. It cannot be seen to being sold to cronies or people that you cannot put faces to. We believe that the processes that you have in place for divestment provides a tremendous opportunity for us to do that. Even if it is not to raise capital, just the listing of it for us would help us achieve even our own mandate. What is the second aspect of it? It is the fact that if we talk about professionalizing state-owned enterprises, which our entities are, we want to improve the quality of governance, we want to improve the level of transparency, reporting. Where else is a better place than to bring them to the standards expected of the exchange?
Well, that was Dr. Armstrong Takang, the CEO of MILFI, that's the Ministry of Finance Incorporated there. As I mentioned earlier, that is the investment arm of the federal government. And I understand that this MILFI was rejigged and put together earlier this year, I think sometime around February, to take another look at federal government investment and come up with some innovations with a target of generating 100 trillion naira in 10 years. And one of the things he mentioned that listing on the Nigerian Stock Exchange will help the institution professionalize state-owned enterprises. According to him, they have a good number of companies, assets that they are probably not maximizing at this point. He believes that if they list these companies on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, they will get more capital to earn more from those enterprises or those assets, and even bring up, according to him, there are even a good number of government assets that are not even doing well at all. And he believes that this will enable them to be transparent. He talked about transparency, which is another thing, that transparency is something that is very important. And according to him, the NGX has its transparency standard in terms of reporting and all of that. And partnering with them on this will help them clear that so that Nigerians can have, they can have more profits, and Nigerians can know exactly what is going on. And it talked about how this will also help them to target the emerging generations. For example, he mentioned the Gen Zs. He believes that if they list, they're going to be open to more creativity, bring in some creative assets that younger Nigerians will be able to take advantage from. And one of the things he mentioned is that by the time they list, Nigerians with as low as 5,000 naira will be able to have a share of some of those government assets. And for him, it's a win-win situation. But let's have your take on this.
Let me quickly add this. One of the positive directions of this government is to mobilize revenue. And that was the essence of why, it created some ministry for mobilization of revenue than the other. And there have been, he has at least, I think he did something by putting some people together to really see into that area of tax. It's part of another revenue generation. So this is another one. And when you look at the MOFI, they want to look at untapped resources that have been wasted, convert it to money. The one that cannot be converted to money, they sell it off. So what we are saying is we call it efficient working capital management in the company. Because when you look at some company, you look at, okay, what are those assets that are not really, if it's something I can sell, let's say I'm big money, so waiting redundant. And I'm losing money based on it because I need to get it out and get my money, invest in another thing to make money. So this is part of the team of it. I mean now that's by the side. And then coming to the market, apart before transparency or whatever, is to strengthening the market itself. We need to
the capital market.
Capital market, yes. Because by the time you bring this kind of thing, they bring those money we realize that are being wasted in terms of unused capital resources. And maybe it's some that need to be sold, some that they can bring it to market, strengthen the market base come widening, and people can really transact. When you have a widening market that is more liquid, liquid. So it's not, in fact, coming to the market make the market more enviable to invest in. You know what I'm saying? So that's to strengthen the market, the base, because because we have many companies being listed, finally the whole share index become very wider, and then you can see people trading more because they are more liquid. So and then you talk about transparency. It's the watchword of the market. Transparency means that you can't do an insider dealings. You can't do things that there's regulations in the market, and if you go against that regulation, people, like share buyback is a bit illegal. There are a lot of things that people do in the capital market, in the companies. That's why the corporate governance is, because you need to submit your quarterly report into the market, apart from, as opposed to yearly, that if you are listed, you need to submit your quarterly. Your monthly return must be submitted. And there are people that are watching this movement in terms of organic, they trace each item. You can't do window dressing anymore. You can't do creative accounting anymore. I know people use vehicle to do something because there's a trajectory. People are watching that line of item in your balance sheet. Okay, if there's an unusual movement in certain things in the balance sheet, they'll call you, what happened to this? And you have to explain it. Because I know people do a lot of creative accounting that just think that the company is doing well. Meanwhile, it's not doing well. They could call it window dressing. All these things are part of the transparency we are looking. In terms of reporting, the Financial Reporting Council is part of people that are into this thing. They will be monitored because you need to submit. It's part of the regulation to submit the financials to. And the technology. Talk about technology. Yeah, technology is, in fact, is fast moving. You just have to. Like this of investment. All this young boy they do this betting online. Why can't they share? I can't. The comfort of my heart. If I have 10,000, okay, staking, but it's not betting. But you are speculating based on the fundamental. The difference between betting and investment. Investment, you are not betting. Nobody don't even know the ball will enter this. Something will do this. But you have to follow. Even if you want to invest in stock or any currency market, you need to follow fundamentals. You need to follow the news that support that particular movement in the currency or in the stock market, because any news being supplied to the populace in terms of the company economic development aids the markets.
Thank you. Let's quickly hear from Ahmed on this.
So I'm looking at it from a different perspective.
All right.
He has talked from the market's reaction. I'm looking at it from corporate governance, responsible governance, where you are not the only one that is deciding the fate of the companies that are under the government, where every citizen now has the opportunity to decide the future of these companies. Why should there be a power holding company that no other low-level Nigerian has any responsibility towards? Why won't these Nigerians vandalize government property when there is no responsibility towards it? But when you now throw it into the stock exchange and regular Nigerians can start buying stock of government companies, then when somebody starts vandalizing NEPA pole, this person is going to make me lose money. The moment somebody's house is not metered, you will report yourself because you want to make money.
When you start stealing from the
when you
real tracks.
when you start stealing bridge that they built with, and then you start going to use the steel to make spoons, someone will chase after you. So I look at it from the angle of responsible governance, where everyone is now a part of governance, even though it's about money, because we're all watching our pockets. I said something to someone a few months ago. I said, Nigeria is the most peculiar country in the world, as far as I'm concerned. Why? Because Nigeria is the only country where the citizens seem to be living a completely different life from the government. Where there is a president and his decisions don't have any bearing on, core local people's decision-making process.
Grassroots.
The grassroots process, right? With this is a huge bridge, a huge fifth mainland bridge that has been built between the government and the grassroots, because now the grassroots sees the possibility of becoming wealthy. All I have to do is to invest right. For goodness sake, everybody knows that investing in the power holding companies will make you money. There's no two ways about it, except we're not going to use lights. Everybody knows that the water companies, that the water distribution companies will make money, except people don't need water. Everybody knows that you have the Lagos rice company that has been created. You put that in the stock exchange. Who will not want to invest? Except you don't want to eat rice. You know, these are common sense decisions. But putting this, moving forward with this, in the stock market is a very, 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 very good thing.
Well, it's good to know that it's a welcome development from your end.
It's a very welcome development.
Because because I attended the event, and while they were talking, I thought of it like a good number of Nigerians keep asking for their share of the national cake. Isn't the share we're talking about?
This is the share.
It is supposed to be.
It's different. Don't mix it up.
Okay.
It's not the share of national cake. I don't understand where that word comes from.
The cake in the first place.
But where is that cake? The share of national cake for you, you can only reap where you invest.
Okay.
The aspect of share of national cake is an illegal usage of terms or words, because you believe somebody is taking money illegally to let me grab my own. That's what it means, if I can.
But if we have a situation where government assets that are supposed to be our co-owned assets are listed in such a way that we all can choose to invest in them, ensure that they are well run, and make money from them.
Good. And the word
is that not putting that word in positive light right now?
When you use that word, maybe that's why I'm because you are not sharing. Sharing means that you have not. To me, when you use that word share, what are you sharing? Before you share profit, you must have invested to be able to share profit. Share. Now, I agree with you. A financial inclusion to the grassroots to be able to invest some certain things. And like I told you, you see the growth in the market. The more people come in, the more expanding our stock exchanges. Because you see, people that instead of using money on stupid, frivolous entertainment, let me quickly, because that's why we said catch them young. Let the investment, something that has to do with be part of our curriculum at maybe secondary school. So, but the youth grows with it, that a money in hand. Okay, even if I need to buy, I remember in those days when we were very young, we have a piggy bank. Our parents would go and drop, if they give you, go and drop into that piggy bank. Although later they break it to buy some clothes for us, whatever. But these are part of catch them young, that you now see that there's no free lunch anymore. We have to make sure that any money that look, let me give you a scenario. If you move along Tomiland, you can see the people, this liberalization and this subsidy mover actually has its own an impact in terms of what we've seen. You can sit down on those doors for 3 hours, 2 hours. It's no one. By the time you've cost those things, it's money. But people don't realize this. by the time you put, people that don't even need to use the car will put the car, you are wasting money. All this money now, you don't even have, your disposable is not even enough to dispose yourself. All you need to do is to look at a reasonable way to spend the little that comes, because the purchasing power is being eroded on the road.
Now, before I get to you, thank you very much for that, by the way, Lateef Jimoh. We're also going to take a clip where the CEO of the NGX, Temi Popola, explained how all of this will affect the capital markets. Okay. Because according to him, he wants to see more government institutions come on the market. So we're going to take that. But let me also say that there was a meeting, an AGM, I think for the NGX, just in July 2023, and the chairman NGX Group, Alhaji Umaru Kwaranga, disclosed that they're also working with, they're working to ensure that hopefully this administration, they fast track the listing of the NNPCL. So they make it they're planning on an initial public offer of the NNPCL. So we're talking about government institutions coming into the market so that there's a level of transparency and all of that. Do you think this will also affect the public service as a whole? This will affect the civil service as a whole?
I didn't want to talk about it.
Okay.
Let me
but
just a minute.
let me allow you.
The reason I'm so loving that, because there's a news that even the NNPC will be divided into two: energy and the petroleum aspects. That's a news that has not really come out, but we hearing that they may split because they want to create more ministry. That is very fair. But we are hearing that they may the energy and the petrol. So you can see thinking coming, and this allow the only reason why I'm supporting it is going to allow for efficient management of Commonwealth. Because you don't even know there is no proper governance, and imagine. See what happened in CBN. See a kind of funny deals that goes within if the audited account has not been released to the world, which sometimes it has not been released, but we have it, and people are now see how our money is being pledged with JP Morgan and others. And you are saying you are having this in your reserve. Meanwhile, it's a kind of round tripping. Most of this money are being pledged with a private organization. You are borrowing money in terms of future contract or whatever, but those future contracts are actually tied to the revenue that you said you have. So in case you break those contract
the agreements,
the money is gone. So the money that you have is not the real money that you have, because you need to net off that particular pledge into that revenue that you say you have, because you can have your own real revenue. That is it. People look at things different, and you can see a lot of things that being exposed. You can see Nigerians immediately the audited account being shared. Come and see serious analysis coming out. I love my cousin. Yes, now people will start thinking, and like I said, if we have more federal parastatal coming into the market, it will strengthen the market. It will strengthen the market, and it will allow for more efficient use of resources.
Yes, interestingly, our time is fast spent. But Ahmed, let you have the last.
Let me quickly look at this from a critical point, and that is government financing. Okay, when government lists these companies on the stock exchange, then it can raise money and used to run these companies efficiently. Because because it is now on the stock exchange, nobody can just impose one person that is inexperienced to run the company, because it is now a public company. 3, it reduces the amount of borrowing that the government does. 4, it gives you more efficient running of the public service staff. No bloated number of people. Every single person's job must be accounted for. And every single thing that they are doing, you must see it in black and white. So, to a very large extent, I see this as how do I put it now? A slingshot to the eye of the needle,
where that singular move would break a lot of shackles that we have had for donkey years in Nigeria.
Yes, that is very similar to what Temi Bubola, the CEO of NGX, mentioned. We may not be able to take that clip because our time is far spent. But thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time on the program. We'll find time to analyze the CBN audited account, the controversial one. You know, fresh charges have been filed against the former CBN governor and all of those things. We'll talk about that some other time on Business Insight. But we hope that this move by Mofi with the NGX would help a good number of Nigerians also make more money. We're talking about multiple streams of income now. So thank you all for your time. I am Olaoluwawe. He is Lateef Jimoh and Ahmed Jayola. We did the program together today alongside you. Tomorrow is another day. Don't miss it. Have a nice day.